this is Liz Coley. Welcome back to Undercover Reading. We're reading The Captain's Kid, Chapter 8, Part 9. The routine of school took over my morning and my mind. I swam hard, fast laps in the swim lane after everyone else headed to lunch, so by the time I toweled off, the gang was already gathered. I carried my bowl of wild rice and mushroom soup and plate of grilled cheese bread over to the empty spot at the table. I prepared for the onslaught of Q&A. It never came. Conversation was entirely normal. I owed someone thanks for arranging that. Probably Mo. Science period started, and 2 words popped into my head when Dr. M began his lecture. Planetary geologist. During the quiet study hour, I interrupted him at his desk. Dr. M, I was wondering whether you can help me with a huge, important project. Related to your planetary service interest? He asked. Yep. Definitely. Can we meet here after dinner, about 19:30? Yep, definitely, he echoed with a gleam of curiosity in his eye. Bring the stone. I'll look forward to it. He cracked his knuckles and went back to work. We just finished hearing about the new theater project, a musical about an ancient Earth conquest and a family of singers that survives, apparently based on a true story. It sounded sort of silly, but Miss Jan promised I could rewrite or reorchestrate some of the songs if I wanted to, starting with a tune called Do-Re-Mi. Normally I would have appreciated the challenge, but I had a lot on my vegetarian plate at the moment, resettling 2,000 colonists. As soon as class dismissed, Audrey heaved on my arm, dragged me into a dark corner backstage, and pinned me against a wall. I was wonderfully helpless. Brandon Webb, I have not seen you alone for 3 whole days, she scolded, and at lunch you were completely spaced out. Her arms went around my waist and she snuggled. So how are you doing? What happened? Are you okay? What really happened? No one is telling us anything and you wouldn't believe the weird rumors that are floating around. Like what? I asked against her silky hair. I breathed in her perfume. Like you were plotting with the saboteurs, like your dad shot them and almost shot you, like the mission is going to be canceled, rumors like that. I could see how the gossip chain would morph the truth into those conclusions. You know rumors, I said. None of those are true. I knew it. I mean, obviously. She rubbed her head against my chest, and I thought the matter was settled, but no. She arched back and fixed me with her steely stare. So, what exactly is true? I tried to smile, but I know it came off weak and awkward. I was plotting with just one of the saboteurs. My dad never aimed at me when he shot the other one, and the mission will probably be changed. Oh, only that, Audrey said, voice laced with sarcasm. Well, that explains everything. She socked me in the arm. What the blast are you talking about? Spit it out. I need to know. Well, she didn't need to know everything. So I gave her a sketchy recap of my relationship with Riverswift from the moment she left Hub D to get security all those weeks ago to the moment he took that flying blade for me. Wow, that's so sad. It's like you made him into a new person. No, it isn't, I said. I just reminded him of the person he was before he got carried away with a bad idea. That's why you looked so tragic at the memorial. I nodded. I was totally in shock. Her voice softened. Are you out of shock now? Are you okay? Except for the nightmares. I shivered. Just mentioning them pushed the restart button on the gut-churning scene. Audrey tucked me into her arms, which was pretty tricky given the height differential. I'm so sorry. It must be awful. Pretty much, I said, bent in half with my face pressed against her chest, wondering how I could feel so bad and so good at the same time. Can you eat with us tonight? She asked. I'm going to check on Dad, see what he wants to do. I think he's more shaken up about this than he's showing, if you know what I mean. Yeah, well, he's captain. Everyone's watching. She took my hand. I'll walk you up. She dropped me at my door. See you later. She tilted her head up for a kiss, and I was pretty quick to take the hint. It made me feel a lot better. I walked into the room calling, Dad, are you here? A strangely accented, No, I am not, son, came from my room. Karthik, what are you doing in here? Breaking and entering? He appeared in the doorway. You never reset your door security override. He held up his thumbs. I still have access. Anyway, I decided to stake out the joint so you cannot evade me any longer. I'm not evading you, dimwit, I replied. I punched him lightly on the arm. Ouch. It's good to see some life in you, he said. I, on the other hand, have been scared to death. About what? He waved a lecturing finger in my face. I knew you were getting deep into something with the Amarins. Then we had reports of escaped prisoners, knives, gunshots, blood, and death. Can you believe we were told to prepare for a memorial service, but not who it was for? He paused, blinking hard for a moment. You cannot imagine how glad I was to see you standing in that chapel. I was touched. Hey, man, do you think I would get myself killed without you by my side? He crossed his arms with a frown. Actually, I admitted, to tell the truth, I came quite close. How close? Karthik demanded. About 12 inches. 12 inches? Yeah, the thickness of River Swift's body. He threw himself between me and Whitesinger's knives. Karthik's face blanched. Perhaps I'm glad I wasn't by your side. Not that I wouldn't take a bullet for you, but I might not be thick enough for a knife, and the gesture would be wasted. He pressed his hands against his ribcage. I didn't know what to say. What had I done to deserve such a loyal friend? I settled for punching his arm again. That said it all. My stomach growled, which made me think of dinner and Dad, who hadn't checked in yet. I sent him a message and got his immediate reply. Dad's not eating early tonight, so you want to head over? I moved toward the door and Karthik stopped me with a firm hand in my gut. Not so fast, Mr. Webb. Not until I hear the story. I was exceedingly patient at lunch, but my self-control has ended. Karthik got the long version with all the gory details. Putting it into words for the second time helped, pushed it to more of a distance that I could examine. And afterward, I felt emptied, purged even, so maybe I'd be able to sleep tonight. I took the stone with me to dinner and found myself paying more attention to the time than anything else. At 19:20, I excused myself and headed over to the lab. Dr. M was already waiting for me. What can I do for your project? He asked. This isn't a school project, Dr. M. It's for real life. Seriously real life. Intriguing, he said. Please proceed. He already knew all about the political problems on Esperanza, so I brought him up to date with the belated climate studies and my psych project results and concluded, the captain and the ambassador have given us permission to choose a better place for the Sequoianos. Indeed. Very intriguing, to be sure. His smile was enormous. He took the data cube in hand. So, have you begun analyzing Wallace's Appendix? Excuse me? He laid the cube on his desk and activated the link. Wallace's Appendix. His doctoral dissertation in 2103 contains the raw survey files as appendices. He was nothing if not thorough. Such a data pack rat. Wow. No, I haven't, I confessed. I didn't know it existed. Oh, what a shame, Dr. M said. It's exactly what you told me you were searching for. Dang, all those wasted weeks. You knew it was in there. Why didn't you just tell me? His laugh exploded, and he held his shaking belly in with his hands. I couldn't spoil the fun of discovering it for yourself. Thanks. Thanks a bunch. He tapped across the desk's V-board. Here we are. Wallace's Appendix. The display showed columns and columns of text and numbers. I could have stumbled across this without the slightest idea of what it meant. Like now. How do we make sense of all this? I asked. Pull up a chair, Dr. M commanded. How do you want to begin narrowing the options? Final disposition equals habitable? Final disposition equals quarantined, I corrected. He peered at me over his old-fashioned lenses. Indeed. Very intriguing. With a few keystrokes, he eliminated most of the data. That gets us down to 21 planets and 2 Jovian-type moons. And for each of these, we should have about 200 gigabytes of survey data. Climate, seasons, soils, landforms, mineral analysis, flora and fauna, etc. I know another Jovian-type moon was discovered after 2114 that ended up in quarantine. Obviously, it's not in the appendix, but I studied it as a graduate student. I'll pull the raw data from my personal files. 200 gigabytes of data times 24 candidates. We have less than 2 weeks, I said. I'm going to need more help. What do you think about this idea? My stomach churned as I faced my own science class. I'd had one run-through with the upper graders this morning. Hi, guys, everyone. Dang, 17 kids and a teacher, focusing all their attention was intimidating. What I wanted to tell you all is that we've got a very important job to do as a group. The fate of an entire colony depends on us and what we do over the next week. I had them riveted. There's a colony on a distant planet. They've been there for 104 years, and they've gone from a population of 10,000 to 2,000 through war and starvation. Super cool sim, Annette yelled out. What's it called? It's not a sim, I told her grimly. It's real life. Why? Because the SSC messed up the planetary survey big time. They told the people the planet was dry but farmable. Turned out it was drier than any of Earth's deserts. And even though the people complained that things weren't growing like they were supposed to, when the first 3 25-year resupply ships came around, nothing happened. Not until 4 years ago, when the resupply ship was captained by my father. Aha! Franklin said. My mom was on that mission. Yep, a lot of your parents crewed that ship, which is why they signed on for this return trip. But 4 years ago, they brought an ambassador from the planet back to Earth to personally ask for help. Anna Manybeads. All of you who went to the service the other day heard her speak. I didn't see who called out, "Oh yeah, the bizarre gene mod lady." Holding onto my temper, I said firmly, "The bizarre gene mod lady is not only the ambassador, but also a leader of the remaining Sequeunos. Those bizarre gene mods are the desert adaptations that kept them from dying off in the first generation. In her heart and mind, she's exactly the same human being as any of us." No one made an out-of-line comment. Good. Back on Earth, she worked a deal for her people to leave Esperanza and return to Earth. "Hey, Esperanza, that's where we're going, isn't it?" Minette asked. "No kidding, you small brain. What do you think this is all about?" Franklin answered. This was slipping out of control. Get to the point, Brandon. That's exactly what this is all about. Our mission was to rescue the Sequeunos and take them to a better place, Earth. Now, for various reasons, the mission has been revised. We're going to take them to an entirely new planet where they can start over. We, and by we I mean all of us, get to help choose the planet and recommend the settlement location. That got them going. I read each face, curious, excited, even skeptical, but not bored. 9 of the desk comps are loaded with original planetary survey files, each one for a different planet. Working in teams of 2, we need to completely review the information and prepare an argument on the pros and cons for each planet. The upper graders have another 15 options they're studying individually. Dr. M is going to teach us the stuff we need to know to interpret the information, because I sure as heck don't know. So everyone pay attention. This is really, really, really important. I noticed heads up, shoulders straighter, eyes alert and engaged. Dang, we could do this. "How are we going to decide?" Khan asked. "Do we vote?" "Nope, we're going to present our work to a panel of judges, including the captain, Dr. M, the ambassador, and Dr. Blair, our resident xenobiologist. Okay? Over to you, Dr. Martin." "One more question," Khan interrupted. "Does the winning team get to name the planet?" "It's already got a name," I said. "It's going to be called New Hope." Thanks to River Swift. Dr. M lectured on a small part of the huge task ahead, analyzing the natural resources, and then he set us loose. Khan and Karthik paired up immediately. Audrey grabbed my hand, saying, "Come on, partner." Mo and Sherry smiled secretively at each other and pulled a pair of chairs up to another desk. Anton scanned the room. "Hey, no fair. It's like Noah's Ark in here. Who wants to be my partner?" Guillaume stepped forward, saying, "Anton, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship." A week later, Dr. M stopped me in the corridor outside the classroom. "I've never had such a motivated group of students, Brandon. What a great idea this was. Congratulations." "Thanks," I blushed, "but I can't take the credit. You've made everything interesting and understandable." Dr. M took off and polished his lenses on the flap of his shirt. "Do you know, every team is putting in extra time in the evenings, and last 7 days there were over 200 person hours logged on this effort." Whoa, I guess everyone realizes how important this is. Either that or they're worried about reporting to the judges tomorrow. I felt a warm glow of satisfaction, not for myself, but for all of us. Dr. M pounded my back in a friendly way. "I think your dedication and enthusiasm inspired them. Strong work, Brandon. Strong work." I'd seen parts of people's presentations, and they looked strong. Audrey's and my planet wasn't going to make the cut, but we still worked hard on our graphics. In the morning, all classes were canceled for the meeting. Word had gotten out not only to our parents, but to all the adults. Dad called ship's holiday so all the interested crew could gather in the theater to watch and be inspired, as he put it. I was reminded that he needed their buy-in as well, or our 6-month detour could turn into mutiny. The first 12 presentations took the whole morning. The teams mixed data, photos, music, and voiceovers, summarizing their pitches, pro and con for their planets. They were prepared for the toughest questions the panel threw at them. Dad called a 2-hour break for lunch and walked me out of the theater. Very fine work, Brandon. I don't know how we could have digested so much information without your teams. It's been amazing, I said. I'm so proud of them. Dad patted my shoulder. The leader stands at the bottom of the ladder, holding it steady for everyone to climb. During lunch, I couldn't help overhearing mumbled conversations about the presentations so far, the crew speculating, betting, competing to guess which planet would win out. The afternoon presentations went past in a flash, then Masuna was on her feet applauding the student teams. The rest of the audience joined her. We all exchanged glances and smiles and crossed fingers and deep breaths. Finally, they sat again, and Masuna began to speak. My simple words cannot express how my heart bursts with thanks to these young people. They have given me faith. They have taken our future into their hands and hearts. She interlaced her fingers and raised them above her head. The strands of our lives will always be woven together, though we are light years apart. And I shall never forget you. The panel will announce our decision in the morning. Dinner was festive, spirits were high, I could see the future, and it was bright and hopeful. I promised myself at that moment that I would be on that 25-year resupply ship, the first outside contact the Sequoianos would have after the Reliable departed from New Hope. It struck me again as so strange, so unfortunate, the isolation of deep space, the separation of all the colonies. Information traveling through space could only travel at the speed of light. Most planets couldn't even send Earth a message in the 25 years between visiting ships. The only way to send information faster would be to take it aboard a starship and through transition. At best, that was a 6-month process. If the information itself could be transitioned from point to point, how different the settled worlds would be. If the Sequoianos had access to instant communication, their situation would never have gotten so bad. I drew a mental image of tiny data packets winking out at one terminal and winking in at another. That would be as transforming as when the telegraph was invented and information sped across the miles on wires without relying on a horse to carry it. What would a transition telegraph look like? I pondered. An equation flashed through my mind and vanished. For 1 second I had seen it, held it in my imagination, and in the next moment it was gone. That's when I made myself another promise. I was going to start studying quantum dimensional physics, just as soon as I had enough math for it. Early the next morning, Dad woke me. I thought you should be the first to know before the general announcement, he said. Anna chose planet Ronaldo B, with our blessing. That's the one with the herbivore herds, isn't it? Good memory, kiddo. Yes, she said something about taking up spinning and weaving in her old age. I cracked a smile. I guess she found new sheep on New Hope. Everyone seemed so excited last night. Does that mean the crew is on board? Figuratively, I mean. Everyone was very supportive when they understood the reasons. I hope that's a good sign. In fact, my dear boy, only one person has a problem, Siravolu. Karthik's dad? Why? Well, aside from having to be extremely creative to stretch our food supplies for the return, he's not sure what to do about the population explosion. What population explosion? The guinea pigs are multiplying like, well, rabbits. Thanks to your campaign of conscience, no one is eating them. They've taken over the farm and then some. You're not thinking of killing them, are you? I asked in horror. That would be a senseless waste, Dad replied. Please tell me you aren't going to feed them to the Sequoianos. Dad's eyes danced with amusement. The thought had crossed my mind, to be honest, but no, I don't think you'd ever forgive me. How well you know me, I said with some relief. Hey, I've got an idea. If the Esperanza grasslands are edible, how about we let them go there? They won't bother the pescados. Good heavens, Brandon, what a notion. All right. That's your job to figure out after we make orbit tomorrow evening. Does that mean we can link into their infosys tomorrow? Why? Oh, I've got another idea, I said lightly. Great. You and your ideas. How much trouble is this one going to get me into? What do you mean? Dad ruffled my hair. Get up. Go to school. Bye. That's the end of tonight's reading. Please come back tomorrow.